Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I can know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Yes,
Okay.
sir. All right. Yeah, it's your boy DJ Dub Floyd in the place to be, and in the place to be is DJ Dub Floyd. This is the Hip Hop Marvels podcast. Alongside me is
Rick0378 the Collector, aka Rick Grimes, bitch.
this is episode 18. Episode 18, Secret Wars. And we have a real, very, very special guest, a legend.
Philly.
One of the reasons, one of the reasons Hip Hop Marvels, since the inception of Hip Hop Marvels, this guy has played a real big part in the inception of Hip Hop Marvels. He as an MC, he embodies what hip hop and what Marvel is. I'm proud to introduce our special guest. He's going to be along for the ride, so I hope he's ready. You know what I mean? Let me introduce the last Emperor.
Yo, peace. Salute. All of that.
Peace. That's what's up. Peace, brother. Peace. Yeah, man. So like I said, you're gonna be along with us for the ride. We got a few topics, few talking points we're gonna be, expounded upon, and then after that we're gonna get into everything that is you. We're gonna get into your career. There's a myth, and I talked to Rick about this. I'm not sure if it's true, but we're gonna present it to you, and you can let us know if it's true. But
yes, sir.
But we're gonna definitely get into it. All things hip hop and Marvel. But before we start, you can remember, to listen, share, rate, and subscribe. We're on Pandora, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Castbox, Stitcher, and more.
Right.
If you're viewing now, we're on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. So don't forget to subscribe and follow and share. Tell a friend to tell a friend. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion, email us at hiphopmarvels@gmail.com and follow us on all our social media, Twitter and IG at hiphopmarvels, and Facebook Hip Hop Marvels, all one word.
We're everywhere now. We spread all around like a bad rumor. So we everywhere. There's no excuse that y'all can't catch us. Y'all can't tune into us. We worldwide now.
Most definitely. So before we get into everything, man, Rick, we've been going for a minute. We're finally back. Before I forget, Claudius and Cash could not be with us tonight. But we repping for the Squadron Supreme. Squadron Supreme is back.
Definitely shout out KinCee, producer extraordinaire.
Yes, KinCee, producer extraordinaire, Taskmaster, brother Voodoo. You know what I mean? And we're gonna get right into it, man. So what you been up to, Rick?
Man, just maintaining, man. I don't have ass out of office hangover, so
right. With everything going on and everything,
just trying to maintain the mental, and just it's like it's gonna be see how cold it is gonna be this year. It was kind of brisk today. The hawk was out today for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. The weather changed up fast, and it's crazy because it's hard to tell who's like genuinely like sick. You know what I mean? Or who got that 19? You know what I'm saying? It's kind of hard to, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of hard to, you could just be, sick from the weather.
I'm not laughing, Joe.
Right. No, I understand that. You know what I'm saying?
One of our last episodes was like when the quarantine went in.
Right. Definitely.
We just, just trying to, I don't think a lot of people took it that serious. I think it's a whole new different thing now. People are taking it serious.
Right.
The president from they had just hired him, and I'm sorry I can't remember the brother's name right. He was hired at University, my alma mater, in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I think he was on the job for maybe 3 months, and he passed away from COVID. He was an older gentleman.
Oh wow!
But yeah, man, this is whew, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy out there, man. Definitely, most definitely. Me as far as me, you know, I just been, you know, on the grind, working, trying to get, you know, spread the word about hip hop marvels and get, you know, our mantra out there. You know,
Right.
Our mantra is pretty much, you know, bridging the gap, if there even is one, between hip hop culture and Marvel comics and entertainment. You know, we're your neighborhood plug for all things hip hop and Marvel. And you know, so I've been just trying to, you know, spread the word on that. Been working, you know, my job is essential, so just been doing that. And then other than that, man, just been chilling at the crib, man. Like this really nothing crazy for me, this whole thing. It's really nothing crazy. You know, when they put everybody on lockdown, I was just like, all right, cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I'm a homebody anyway. You know what I mean? So yeah, just been, you know, trying to you know, get the gears rolling with hip hop marvels and you know, maintaining work. Trying to, you know, maintain my health. You know what I mean?
Right. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I was never bothered necessarily by the quarantine, really, until probably, you know, when time went back.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm working, you know, I'm working third shift, so it's like I haven't seen, like, for like a week. The first week I think of it, I didn't see any daylight.
Right.
You know
okay. Yeah.
I'm waking up. Yeah. It's after 5 to get ready, and I get off at 6. You know, it doesn't become light till like 6:30, 7 o'clock. So for like a week, I didn't see any daylight at all.
Okay.
And it started. It kind of a little bit. I could tell. I'm like, damn.
Right.
The sun in like 5.
Right. Okay. Nah, I feel you. Last Emperor.
Yes, sir.
In this whole process.
True that. Last Emperor, how have you been maintaining through this whole, you know, this COVID-19 situation and you know, as far as quarantining and I know it may be rough for you, like being you know, an artist and whatnot. You can't, you know, with the limitations on shows and stuff like that, you know, things of that nature. So how have you been coping with this whole thing?
Well, much like everyone else, just remaining vigilant, doing what I can to protect myself, to reinforce my immune system through taking as many natural herbs and things of that nature as I can. You know, doing what I can, doing my part basically to stay clear of it. What many people may not know is that in addition to being an artist, I'm also what they call an essential employee. I won't divulge what exactly specifically that occupation is, because, you know, every superhero has to keep his, you know, his secret identity, you know, but by day I'm a mild man. I am a mild-mannered essential employee. Very visible in my community. So myself, my co-workers, you know, we have felt I have several co-workers that have unfortunately become at one point or another in contact with the COVID-19 virus. So it's very real. Yeah, despite what many, you know, they're you know, people like to say conspiracy theories and things of that nature, and I have my own specific views about what's going on, but there is something out here and it is affecting people. You know, I know people that have had loved ones that are not here anymore as a result of this. So it's very serious. So I just do my part to try to steer clear of it and promote safety, whatever that looks like. And yeah, it's difficult. Now, as far as being an artist, again, I've been kind of doing like work aside from that for some time now. So I'm fortunate enough, I'm blessed enough that I don't have to totally rely on my artistry and the art to keep the lights on and the bills paid. With that being said, it still affects me. There's still been times where people have wanted me to come and do shows, and obviously none of us can do that right now. in mass or any large scale. So I've just been concentrating on recording. I'm probably 70% finished another project. I guess we'll discuss that at some point.
Yeah,
But yeah,
definitely.
man, this COVID thing is affecting everybody, man. And you know, I just willfully everyone can just maintain themselves, reinforce their immune systems. They're projecting that this winter may be a very hard one. Again, you mentioned you know, COVID in conjunction with potential flu season coming up. So we just got to do what we can to keep our physicals intact.
Yes, definitely, definitely. And
Word.
you touched on something serious there because you know, like you said, a lot of people have been downplaying this whole thing. You know, they've been,
Yes. Yes.
like you said, chalking it up to conspiracy theories, you know, whatever the case may be, like you know, different scenarios. So, and like you said, it is real. You know, people are dying. I've had just a few family members affected by it.
Right.
But yeah, it's very, very real. So, you know, it's good, you know, it's good that everybody's maintaining. You know, like I said, you just keep your health. Health is wealth. You know what I'm saying? Keep your health
Yes,
first.
sir.
Yeah, and you know, and just continue to whatever you were doing. Like I said, you know, COVID helped me kind of realize and kind of help me propel, you know, what it is that I'm trying to do. It kind of sat me down. It was like, you know, all right,
Right.
take this time to sit down and relax and gather your thoughts. So I'm thinking a lot of folks are like that. You know what I'm saying? So
Right. I
Absolutely.
agree. I
so
agree.
so yeah, so what I want to get into first thing, and last imp, you can chime in anytime you choose. I
Yes,
want to get
sir.
into the state of hip hop right now. I don't know if you've been knowing. Well, you've been paying attention, but I'm sure you have. There's a war going on outside, and you know, one of the reasons why I named this episode Secret Wars, number one, because you are Mr. Secret Wars, you know what I'm saying?
Salute.
Word. Um Number two is there's a lot of wars that are not necessarily in secret. You know, a lot of wars are being fought right now in our faces, whether it be on the media, whether it be politically. Right now, we have a big war right now in hip hop because there's a lot of casualties, uh, being brought to us, every other day. It seems like
Yeah.
between rappers and getting killed or shot. So
You mean like King Von and all that stuff that's going
yes,
on in
yes,
Texas?
Yes.
Yeah.
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 So you had King Von being killed in Atlanta. You have Mo, what's the cat, Mo 3.
Mo 3. Yeah.
Mo 3. He passed away in Dallas
Agree.
on the freeway, being shot. Just recently, Benny the Butcher has been shot in
Yeah.
Dallas. You got
Yeah.
Lil Boosie. I mean, it's just crazy out there. So Rick, like, what are your thoughts on this whole, this war that's going on? Because let's face it, uh, you know, it's nothing. It boils down to back and forth. You know, you shoot one of my guys now. We're gonna get, and that's what it's all about. Really, it's just a back and forth thing. So that's why I kind of equated that to quote unquote war. What are your thoughts on this, Rick?
Um, when we did the year end episode, one of my just rappers and most of them are young, being killed, or it's definitely not good for the culture. And a lot of these guys, when they're murdered or killed, they're really just beginning their career. They just got hot, they just got a mixtape or whatnot on the charts, and things like that. And these some of these young men, they're not even getting the chance to enjoy the success of hip hop.
Most
Um,
definitely.
Definitely, it's definitely hurtful, in my opinion, losing young guys, like especially like the young guys. And
Most definitely.
hey, with Sheik, the real street dude back then too, but he understood tax bracket. He had saying and just getting out that element. And I know it's hard for some to do that. That they didn't want to let their neighborhood go, or let their street go, or let their block go. But there's some things you just have to do if you really want to be successful and not
Yeah,
become a
most
target
definitely.
in a sense.
Right, most definitely. I feel like like you said, some of these guys, these guys are really, really young, kids, pretty much. And I read something about Jim Jones. He made a statement. Pretty much, I don't know if he was necessarily comparing what's going on in hip hop to soldiers fighting in war, or military folks. Me being one, but in a sense, I get where he was coming from. And then there was a veteran who responded to him, pretty much saying like, no, it's no way near as dangerous, or nowhere near. I mean, there's no comparison. Pretty much, you can't compare that to what we went out and fought for. And then Jim Jones later came back and responded to that, and it was like, the difference is, these are cats I grew up with on the street, homies I lost. Like, we grew up from being children until now. So that's the difference. These are guys you're serving with guys you never met. So I don't know. There's a double-sided, thing to that. Last end, but what are your thoughts on this whole war, if you will?
Yeah, definitely. I think you alluded to the fact that there is a conflict that's being fought on many fronts. And I think that, for religious people, they would say that it's something spiritual that's behind all of this. To take it into more scientific terms, we have to understand that within each of us is a positive and negative charge. Life, as we know it, stemming from the atom, consists of protons, neutrons, and electrons.
Word.
Protons and neutrons represent that positive and negative charge. So we all have the potential to produce positivity or negativity. Those of us who find ourselves immersed in the art form known as hip hop, or lyricism, or rhyming. When I was growing up, it was all about rhyming. Who had the best rhymes, the illest rhymes?
Most
I know
definitely.
the criteria is a little different now, and that speaks to something that's going on culturally with our people, especially original people here in the wilderness of North America. But to bring it on home to what we're speaking of now in terms of these young rappers dying, we have to understand that there's that old adage of the pen being mightier than the sword. What we deal with are words. We put words together and creates movement. When Rakim said he was an MC, he emphasized that his job and his ability revolved around moving the crowd. So we know that we emit sounds that create movement in other people.
Definitely. Yeah.
Look at something like the bat. Most bats have vision issues. They don't see very well. They fly at night. So what they do is they emit sounds in the form of sonar, which bounce off objects, comes back to the bat. His audio receptors pick up on the sound reflecting off of the object, and it gives a bat the idea of which way to go. Okay, I emit a sound, it came back here, so there's a tree in front of me. Let me move this way.
Word.
Let me move that way, thus and so. So we have an example of in the animal kingdom, the sounds we emit bounce off objects and come back and affect us in some sort of way. Now, if the lower form of animal has understood this principle, why haven't we, allegedly a higher form of consciousness, understood that in terms of if I'm a rapper and I'm putting out, music that dictates, I got the AR with the
Right.
extendo clip,
Yeah.
or with it,
Yeah,
or with the
sure.
drum, or with the drum on it, and I'm out here shooting up, killing everybody. Why would I be surprised when somebody pulls up and tests me on that?
Word.
So, we have to understand how powerful, especially with what's going on in this country and around this world right now. We set the template for all activity on this planet. Those of us who specifically are a part of the quote unquote said hip hop community, we make the world go round. Everybody wants to look like us, dance like us, talk like us, walk like us, have the same philosophy that we do. So if we have now, unfortunately, devolved, in terms of the rappers that are out there, because I never want to paint the picture that there aren't still some,
Right.
individuals who are talking about positive, progressive music and, got rhymes that are, they're definitely out here. But unfortunately, the ones in the front that are getting all the spotlight are the ones that got the extendo clip on the AR or whatever. They got the drum and, or the ladder, and they just out here letting fools have it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that war is fought on many fronts. And to take it a step further, dig a little deeper, what are some of the socioeconomic conditions that a lot of these young brothers and now some sisters come from that dictate that they provide this sort of music? So to a certain degree, I don't fault the younger ones that are immersed in this, because a lot of them that have not been taught the knowledge of themselves. So of course we can't expect them to, instantly become these progressive, positive rappers and think they're just basically, for lack of a better term, products of their environment.
Right.
The problem I have is those of us who are, let's say 30, 35 and older, and still every rhyme I ever hear you spit or kick is about killing somebody that looks just like you. You can't assume, no, we don't come into this, many of us, saying, you know what, I'm going to be an MC, I'm going to be a rapper, and I'm going to be a role model. But it just kind of comes with the territory.
Yeah, it does.
It just kind of comes with the territory.
Yeah, no, it really does. And to expound on what you just said, you're right. I don't hold the younger generation accountable as much for their actions, because like you said, the generation before them, there comes a time where we have to start teaching. You know what I'm saying? We have to start teaching.
That's right. That's right.
You know what I'm saying? We have to, because like you said, if we're the main ones, knowing we're the generation before, and we're the main ones spewing that, it's just like how you're raised. If you have a family up in the mountains somewhere, a Caucasian family up in the mountains, and their parents is telling their toddler, the black race is inferior, and and just preaching all of this, racism, that kid is going to grow up to be a racist. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same. It's kind of the same deal when you're speaking on hip hop and speaking on the culture. A lot, and when you're young, you tend to emulate a lot of the things you see.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So it's really unfortunate, that this is happening. And to be frank, I don't think this is the end. Like I expect to hear, I don't want to, but it's something that I expect to hear, as long as, you know, this as long as there's a break in the dialogue, you know what I'm saying, between the elder statesmen and the youth, you know what I mean? So
Right.
it's
let me say this. I think even though some of these guys are young, there comes a time when you have to take responsibility for your action.
Absolutely.
most definitely.
And I think definitely a part of it is there's really no messages or knowledge being shared in hip hop now. Now it's like my man said, it's either about the AR with the drum.
Right.
Hip hop right now, I mean, I've never seen so much promotion as far as like taking drugs before. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
The worst
Right.
you got was like maybe smoke a blunt, drink a 40. Now you got messages it's like sipping lean and basically taking fentanyl and things like that, things that are going to kill you.
Right.
And
Right.
I don't understand as far as like the promotion now, like, and part of it also is we don't control the hip hop industry. We control hip hop, I think, but not as far as making money, video, things like that. We never had control of the industry. Most of the black A&Rs at record labels then didn't want to have anything to do with hip hop at all. And Jewish people.
That's
and
right.
Really, they're the ones who really, control hip hop. We've been lucky in certain situations as far as independent labels, Cash Money, No Limit, Ruthless, things like that. But once you sign that major label deal, to me, that's when you lose control. Easy and did they thing as far it was Ruthless, but once they signed with Jerry Heller, they lost. Well, Easy E at least lost control.
Right.
Another label which we'll talk about that was later on as far as Last Imp, in my opinion, was also Raucous. Raucous was a very quality label, but the minute that they signed, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was with Geffen. I think they lost all control. They dropped artists that were really dope and had things to say were no longer, or they had to go a different route to be heard when Raucous was like right there.
Most definitely.
We just the main problem is we just need to have control of hip hop. Like right now, the situation with Def Jam. I mean, like this is a label I grew up on. You saw Def Jam or anything, you bought it just because it said Def Jam.
That's
right.
right.
Now I'm looking at the roster on Def Jam, and I'm like Justin Bieber's on Def Jam. Really?
Word.
How in the hell does that happen? But of course, I know it came from Russell giving up his control of Def Jam. And had people that were not affiliated with hip hop whatsoever. L.A. Reid is a great producer and songwriter, but L.A. Reid is notorious for not really liking hip hop. He didn't know what he didn't know what to do with Outkast. He didn't know what to do with Goody Mob. Anybody that was signed with LaFace at the time, he really didn't think either one of those acts would even pan out. And knowing that, Outkast is Diamond. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Goody Mob has at least 2 albums that are, in my opinion, classics. And
the new one is ill too, by the way. Right.
Say what?
I said the new one is ill too, by the way. Most definitely.
Oh, Survival Kid, I listened a little bit of that today, by the way.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it's like just we have to control hip hop, and I really don't think I think it's gonna be either a while or it's gonna be impossible to gain control of hip hop as far as the industry. The culture promote certain things. I tell anybody who you are, if you see and you're a hip hop artist, I think there's just certain things you need. Everybody needs to have joints on their album where they're just really spitting or they're contributing something positive to the culture.
Right.
If that's who you are, or who you claim to be, and who you claim to represent, as far as a culture and a certain sound.
Right, most definitely. But yeah, so I didn't mean to linger on such a solemn subject, but I mean it is out there, it's part of the culture.
Yes.
And and that that's what we do here on Hip Hop Marvels. We and let it be known, like I've gotten a few comments saying that, you guys, it seems like you guys don't embrace hip hop as a whole because I don't hear you mention certain particular artists, or basically they're saying we're staying true to true school hip hop, or like, you know what I mean, like we're I guess we're a gang of elitists, but that's not the case. If you go back and listen to many episodes, we talk about an array of hip hop topics and different artists, you know what I mean? So yeah, let's talk about WandaVision, Rick. So WandaVision, which is a show slated for Disney Plus. They recently announced that they're pushing that back. I think we were supposed to get it next month sometime, but they're pushing it back to January 15th. I know when I first heard the news, I was kind of disappointed because I wanted to see something Marvel this year. It's like we really didn't. This was a Marvel, a marvelous year. You see how I broke it down? It was, you know what I'm saying? A marvelous year. You know what I'm saying?
I like that.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But but it's far from marvelous.
There hasn't been a year.
Right.
There hasn't been a year since 2009 that there hasn't been any kind of Marvel release.
Right. Yeah.
And as far as WandaVision, I'll be honest, that was like probably like the least, besides the Eternals, it's probably like the least thing I'm looking forward.
Right. I feel you on that.
Really, if you think about it, the Winter Soldier is supposed to be out like in August.
Right. I feel you on that though. To me, I think it'll be important because I'm hearing a lot of Doctor Strange talk, and how they're saying that it's supposed to lead into the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness film. So I'm looking forward to that because I know that Multiverse of Madness is going to set up a whole array of different stories and spin-offs, and you know what I mean, which I've been looking forward to. You know what I'm saying? I'm I think that's dope. As far as the show, I like I will say, by watching, checking out the trailer, I like the look of it. It's different. And I think it's about time Marvel they do something different but still keep us locked. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So yeah, I'm liking the whole Leave It to Beaver vibe, and and of course, stemming from the comic books, everybody knows that they had a little thing. They had a little thing
situation.
Yeah, it's kind of it's like a sitcom and everything. So I'm I really
don't understand that at all.
What's that?
What part does Monica Rambeau play in as far as WandaVision? I really don't understand that. I know. I'm older.
Yeah, I'm anxious to know that because like I said, Monica Rambeau is a dope character. Shout out to Cash, her AKA Monica Rambeau. But yeah, yeah, word. But yeah, that I'm kind of skeptical to see how that plays out because they had introduced the character in Captain Marvel, you know what I mean? So
right.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, I'm anxious to see what WandaVision sets out to be, and then like on top of that, it's just added to the list of shit we're gonna receive next year from Marvel. It's like it's gonna be a gang of shit we're gonna get. So like,
that also concerns me as far as overexposure, because you put together what's supposed to be this year and next year, you could really probably have something come out like every month, damn near, as far as
that's the way the slate is looking. if not every month, every other month. That's the way the slate is looking. Which I mean, I'm cool with it. You know what I'm saying? I know, you know, we're cool with it. You know,
what do you
last
feel?
imp,
What do you feel? What do you feel about that imp as far as the WandaVision series? I don't know if that's something that
I'm
you're
not.
into,
Yeah,
but
I'm not really up on that. I've heard about it. I got a couple of homies that are into that branch of things, but I'm not even really up on it. I can't even front. I'm more of
okay.
a like the central core character, Spidey, the
Right.
Hulk. You know what I mean? Like as
Yeah.
far as the MCU, I would just. I mean, I know they kind of feel like they may have shot their load, and I know there's a lot in the air in terms of well, you know, do we go more toward the well? I mean, they have to go more toward the streaming services if we can't go back to theaters anytime soon, like you
Right.
know, en masse. And that's the problem with creating these big budget films. You know, they anticipate tons of moviegoers going to see them, and if that's just not a reality right now, so they're trying to figure out how they can get this stuff out to us. But what I say is that I would like to really see within at least the next year or two an Alpha Flight movie. Like
Man, you ain't
that's what
said
I would
nothing but a word,
really like
man.
to see, especially now
Shit.
that there's more relationship. There's going to be, you know, more relationship between the MCU and like the X-Men. I think it's a perfect opportunity to show that portion of Logan's life. You know what I mean? When he was running with Alpha Flight, I would really like to see with what they can do now with CGI, especially Sasquatch and all of that. You know what I mean? So that's really what that's the sort of stuff that I'm looking forward to.
Yes,
I can
definitely.
dig that. I was even actually hearing at one time that they were considering an Alpha Flight series.
Yeah, that would be dope.
That
would be dope. That would be dope.
Really dope.
I was hearing that along the same time I was hearing like Moon Knight, and it seems like Moon Knight is really going to happen now.
Yeah, I've been hearing that too.
Like those teams. I mean, I guess they're going to be. They may get around to that, being that, you know, the rights to, you know, Fox are now with Disney, and they get to explore the whole mutant realm and everything. So I'm guessing they, you know, that would be dope. I would love to see that Alpha Flight. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
that'd be crazy.
But yeah, definitely. So yeah.
And next time, let you know, Imp. Just let you know, Imp. You're like the second person on our show that has mentioned Alpha Flight. Shout out to R.I.P.
Yeah, man.
Puck.
Salute.
Yeah, shout out
But Imp is like the second person total that has ever said anything about Alpha Flight. People like, yo, this dude know what he's talking about. He's bringing up Alpha Flight.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Alpha Flight in a conversation.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think Irv mentioned that like one of his favorite characters is like Puck or some shit. Like, yeah, word. So
yeah, Puck.
Yeah,
he talked about Puck.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, next thing we want to get into is okay, so last imp, I know you know you seem like a busy dude. I don't know if you've been up on the whole versus thing, but they got
I've been seeing some of them.
Okay, so tomorrow is going down. Jeezy versus Gucci Mane is tomorrow. It originally started out as Jeezy versus T.I., but I guess I don't know, T.I. ended up backing out for some reason or whatever, and Gucci Mane stepped up. Okay. Now this is very interesting to me, given their past history. You know what I'm saying? Given their history. They had a real bad beef back in the day.
I remember that.
Yeah, definitely on some street shit.
There was actual bodies in that beef.
Casualties. Actually, kind of reminiscent of what's going on today. So this is why I think it's important for this battle to take place. Because
absolutely,
if these two grown men can, you know, put everything aside for the culture and come together and present us with, you know, their masterpieces, or their, you know, present us with joints that made them who they are, and show camaraderie and show that, you know, you can, you know, there is light at the end of the tunnel, and that you don't always have to beef. I think that's a major thing. That's a big thing for them and for the culture.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it speaks to what hip hop is, how the way it started, up in the Bronx, Sedgwick and all of that with Cool Herc and Zulu Nation and all that.
Shout out DJ Cool Herc.
The purpose of even doing hip hop and doing hip hop related arts and activities, whether it be graffiti, whether it be DJing, whether it be b-boying or AKA breakdancing, whether it be MCing, it started in that era of how do we take the energy from gangs in the Bronx and areas surrounding and give them something to do to release that energy. See, energy is something that can't be made nor destroyed. It just changes form. So if you got, the Black Spades street organization, you got this gang and that gang, those guys realize, look, if you come to the party and you dancing, or, when you got spare time, you're perfecting your graffiti, you're perfecting your pieces, your burners, or your DJing, that energy that you would have been putting into meeting up with this next gang and banging out with them, you just take that energy and put it somewhere else. So I think that what you're saying is exactly right. This is what hip hop was founded on. Hip hop, in my opinion, the way I see it, on this being the 18th, we're here getting the knowledge, of what hit the relationship between hip hop and Marvel Comics and how it all ties in. We're building on that, and willfully what's born out of that is a better understanding of how we influence it and how it influences us. So again, the larger picture being that, hip hop is something that was supposed to get us out of the street activity, not direct us back into it. So I'm glad to see, I'll be honest, I'm not totally familiar with Gucci. I'm more familiar with Jeezy's music than I am Gucci Mane's. And I honestly think it probably would have been a better battle between better battle between him and T.I. But for the reasons that you both just eloquently expressed in terms of them having already had issues, it's important that we see things resolved in an artistic fashion. And I love it. I love it, man. I love it.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely for the culture. And like I said, given the times, given what's going on today, especially with what's going on today, I think is very important for the culture. Very important. So
indeed.
I'll definitely be tuned in. You can catch it on Instagram Live, I believe, and you can catch it on Apple TV and Apple Music. So I definitely will be in tune to see how that plays out. And so we're gonna take the time to get into what you got going on and everything that is The Last Emperor. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Take this time. I guess we could start off with your origin story. Every superhero got, they have an origin story. So what's yours, man?
Absolutely. Well, I grew up in West Philadelphia, a section called the Cobbs Creek section, which is pretty much central West Philadelphia. Product of West Philadelphia schools all my life. Grew up around hip hop, saw local artists in my neighborhood before they got national acclaim and national stardom. For example, I went to Overbrook High School, which in my opinion is especially during the era of the 80s, the mid 80s, late 80s was like the hip hop high school. Steady B went to my school. Will Smith, who we know as the Fresh Prince, he went to my high school. The Youngsters, if you remember the Youngsters, they went to Overbrook as well.
Later to be named the Illy Funksters,
the Illy Philly Funksters. That's right. Shout out to the Youngsters too. That's squad right there. And definitely,
and you guys, you guys not only had hip hop alumni, you guys had like a lot of NBA players go there as well.
Yeah, Walter Stilt Chamberlain. Graduate of Overbrook High School. Right. Yeah. We'll
Yeah.
distill all West Philly, man. All West Philly. In fact, pound for pound, I like to say most of the artists, respect and shout out to all sections of Philly. Sometimes people that are from outside Philly look at it like it's just one monolithic city, but we have different sections, and some of the sections have their own subtleties to them, much like, if you go to places like New York, the Bronx is a little different from Brooklyn, which is a little different from, so, but pound for pound, we put out the most, West Philly put out the most MCs that have done like got national attention. So we're talking about Will Smith, Steady B, Cool C, and all the Hilltop Hustlers. So that's also the youngsters. They come out of that camp as well. We're talking about Bahamadia. We're talking about Schoolie D, who is arguably the father of, if you ask gangster rappers in the West Coast, who influenced them, it's Schoolie D. You know what I mean? I was seeing Schoolie D at like Bobby Dance functions before he became nationally known. I'm that old. So you know what I mean? Like, so that's the environment that I grew up in. So it was like the burgeoning and emerging hip hop scene. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention, when you have places like New York again, you got people like DJ Red Alert, Mr. Magic, and all of that. Well, in Philly, we have a sister by the name of Lady B. If you go back, she's actually, not only is she our version of like a Red Alert, who, Friday and Saturday night in the 80s, if you were listening to hip hop, it was her show. Right. If you go and look at the album credits from all of the artists who came out back then, whether it be Salt and Pepper, whether it be the Jungle Brothers, you name it, you look in the back of their album credits, right after they finish thanking the New York DJs, they thank Lady B. Well, she was also credited with being the first female to put out a solo rap record called To the Beat, Y'all. So, that's right. So, so that's the environment that I come out of. So, hip hop was definitely something very organic. I tried my hands at every aspect of it, probably except DJing, which I tried when I went to my homie's house, but my parents couldn't afford to get me equipment like that. So I would have tried that too. But so, I've had a very well-rounded experience. I also grew up in the NOI, the Nation of Islam. A lot of people don't know that about me, but that, I think, as I grow older, I get a better understanding of my perspective and the importance of education in everything that I do, and the importance of, examining, being an examiner of everything that I do, and being cognitive and conscious of the words that I put out, and just always striving to speak with intelligence. So all of that plays a factor into my upbringing. Growing up here in West Philly, I seen it all. I was out there in the streets for a minute. Even with that being said, was I never not the super thug or the super gangster or super drug dealer, but I do know what it's like to get out here and get busy in the streets. Fortunately enough, unlike a lot of my other comrades that didn't make it, I learned from life's experiences, and if I made a mistake once, I never made it again. So, West Philly schools, I went to Lincoln University and studied political science in the early 90s, got a degree in political science and international relations. Met a lot of good friends during that time. And during that time, one of my closest homies, my brother, my comrade Q, from Brooklyn, he had aspirations of getting into the music industry. I used to do local talent shows and stuff like that, and open mic contests at school. I was known as the rapper on the yard or whatever. So I never took it serious. I even in my neighborhood, like Friday, Saturday night, we sitting around drinking 40s. I was the entertainment. You know what I mean? Like we freestyling and just being sharp and trying to be witty and coming up with my own rhymes. And my homies used to always tell me I should do something with it, but I never took it seriously until I got to college and met this brother named Q, and he was like, "Yo, man, if you follow my lead, I'm telling you, I think we can make something happen." So about 95, I recorded a demo a good friend of mine named Damon Johnson, Dame Dollars. He was going out after he left Lincoln. He was going out to the West Coast. His brother had Geronimo Films, which was doing a lot of the videos for Dr. Dre and Aftermath. So he said, "Look, man, I can't."
Yeah, I've heard of Geronimo Films. I was trying to
Yeah,
figure
he
out
was like, I can't promise you anything, but I'll take your demo out there and see, and whatever happens, happens. And you know, the rest is history as far as that's concerned. But you know, even during the interim of that, I moved to Brooklyn, New York, in like 95, 96. Yeah, like winter of 95, whenever I got out of school. And you know, it was just me and Q. We were on the grind. We went to every open mic, every lyricist lounge, everything you could name, to put my talent out there and to get on the different stages and things of that nature. And that propelled me to be known in the New York community, which, I mean, you know, let's face it, that's the mecca of hip hop, you know. So if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. So I went out there, honed in on my craft, went to every open mic. I mean, it was just like night after night after night. And it allowed me to develop the ability to have stage presence, to develop myself, to know what it was like to be in a room full of, and I'm telling you, some of these functions, there were the top tier MCs in the audience. So I look out in the audience and I see people like Craig G. I see Master Ace. I see you know, Helter Skelter. I see, you know, you name it. Everybody's in the audience. So you got to go up there and you got to get
top tier MCs. Definitely. Definitely.
Top tier MCs, most def. You know what I mean? I came in contact with him a lot. I did, you know, like maybe a year and a half just doing tours and opening up for like De La Soul. Shout out to De La Soul and, you know, especially Dave and all that, Amityville, Long Island, Prince Paul, everybody, man. I know I'm bouncing around a little bit, but
no,
you know,
you're good, man.
I've been very, you know, willfully fortunate to be amongst the elite of the art form. You know, whether we're talking about Dr. Dre, whether we're talking about Diamond D, the RZA, Prince Paul, you name it. So I always credit myself, again, going back to the NOI, I humbled myself enough to be a student of the game. As a student, you know, I may have not ever had like the large record or be known and all that, but I think as a student of the art form and of the culture, I've been in some of the most significant classrooms under the tutelage of some of the most powerful instructors. So it's given me a richness that, though I don't have the money or the accolades and this, that, and the other, I've had you know, friendship in all walks of life and been around some of the most powerful people within the art form.
Man, that's amazing. Know what I would call that? I would call that like,
let's go.
I would call that the rogue syndrome, because you soaked in all this game and nobody can touch you, and nobody can touch you. You know
I like that. I like that.
Let's
you know I mean?
let's back up a little bit as far as your open mic experience, because there's only a few people that recorded on the Lyricist Lounge compilation and actually performed at a Lyricist Lounge, and you performed on November 11th, 1995 in New York.
Yes, sir.
And that lounge is hosted by Q-Tip, first of all, but also featured yourself and Maestro Manny. So
yes, sir.
What was that experience like? And then, if you can, talk about the experience of recording CIA Criminals in Action along with KRS-One and Zach De La Rocha.
Most definitely. Yeah.
Well, you know, it was a very surreal experience, because again, here I am. You know, I'm from West Philly. I had been around, you know, again, some of the local talent here that went on to have success. Like I said, I'd be in high school, going to my locker. I look down the hallway to the right of me, and Steady B would be going in his locker. And I was like, wow, he's got records out and he still comes to high school. Like, yo, that was just the illest thing to me. So, you know, on that level, you know, I was comfortable about being around people that were already famous. So when I got to the Lyricist Lounge, it was like I was super nervous, but because, you know, this is okay. It's like if you're going to do this, you have to do it with the utmost level of professionalism, you know, and really stand out and deliver. You know, this is your moment. This is your shining moment. And I remember thinking that to myself, this is your shining moment. And fortunately enough, it was so dark in there that I didn't realize until I got off stage the level of talent that was in the audience. So I get off stage and people are like congratulating me and saying, telling me I did a good job. Like, you know, I see Craig G from the Juice Crew. He's like, yo, that was ill. And, you know, I see just so many people, Master Ace. I mean, the list goes on. And again, that was hosted by Q-Tip. I remember Q-Tip just being like, yo, B, yo, your stuff is ill, kid. Like, yo, you like the shit, yo, you like the show stealer and all that. So I'm like, yo, I'm like, and every time, and I gotta salute Q-Tip because he's such a pivotal part of that boom bap sound of the late 80s and 90s.
Right.
One thing I really credit him with is he's selfless in trying to promote other people that he feels are ill. He is one of the people that helped Busta Rhymes get out there and be, you know, more notable to the world. You know, he's one of the people that helped Rod Digger be notable to the world. You know what I mean? Right. He's one of those. There are certain people, you know, this is a very competitive sport. And I've been around some MCs who, you know, won't give it up to you or a little standoffish or like, yo, you the new nigga on the block. I ain't, you know, I'm a front like I don't know who you are and this, that, and the other. But Q-Tip was always, to me, one of those dudes that every time I saw him, he was very encouraging. He was always, you know, very just like, yo, what's up with you, kid? What you doing? Like, you know what I mean? Like just one of those artists, very forward in terms of pushing other artists and not just being selfish, but pushing other artists into the spotlight. So, you know, that encouragement, the few words of encouragement that he gave me have stuck with me. And so I remember it being a really ill night and them being like, yo, we want you to keep coming doing this over and over again. So I did a lot of Lyricist Lounge showcases and other things like that, but that one was definitely special. And in terms of recording the CIA, that was another case of just like extreme nervousness because what a lot of people don't know is that it wasn't like I was just thrust into this situation and didn't know. I mean, obviously, you know, who doesn't know KRS-One? I grew up on his music, obviously. Right. You know what I mean? Criminal Minded was in heavy rotation in my household. You know what I mean? So of course I knew who the Blast Man. Of course, I know who the Blast Master is, and he prides himself with being an edutainer and an educator. So, of course, I knew all about him. But what many people don't know is I was probably just as much a fan of Zach De La Rocha and Rage Against the Machine as I was of KRS-One. So, you know, the nervousness this time is on both parts. It's like, yo, and we recorded all at the same time. It wasn't one of those deals where somebody goes in and records their stuff and they send us the email, and it was none of that. I'm in the booth. I leave the booth. Chris comes in. He lays his verse. He leaves the booth. Zach comes in. He lays his verse.
The best dynamic to have right there.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I think, you know, we had a conversation about what we wanted to talk about first. So, of course, Chris is like, yo, I think we need to discuss what's going on with the CIA. And so, you know, he's like, yeah. So, you know, and we have to remember during that time, the information was just beginning to emerge about the CIA's involvement in funneling large quantities of cocaine to urban areas through local dealers and so basically the CIA was the plug. Right. That information was just coming out. And back then it was a conspiracy theory. You know, now we know that it's true. There's even a major motion picture starring, if I'm not mistaken, wow, his name escapes me right now. The guy from the Mission Impossible films. I should know this.
Tom Cruise? You talking about
Tom Cruise? Tom Cruise recently did a film. I gotta get the title of this film where he plays one of those people who were the plug for the CIA funneling large amounts of drugs into the urban areas. So here it is years later, something that we were talking about then is finally, become common knowledge in a sense. So yes, KRS said, yo, I want to talk about this on the record. Let's go. So of course, he and Zach, Chris is definitely very socio-politically aware. Zach De La Roca, from all the, their music is definitely supported everything from arguably the world's most infamous political prisoner, Mumia Abu Jamal, to his work with the Zapatistas, to you name it. He's very, very, very conscious about socio-political affairs as well on a global level. Particularly in the region of Central and South America, but on a global level. So here I am between these two guys, and I don't even think they knew at the time that I had a background in political science. So I don't know if they're just thinking like, okay, this guy's supposed to be the hot new rapper or whatever. So I just go in there, and my only regret about that is I had so much that I wanted to convey in my verse that I just was like rapid fire with it. I always wish I had kind of rolled the track a little better like Chris did or like Zach did. But I just was firing off all types of neurons like, look, you better come with something crazy because you got Zach to the left, Chris to the right.
Yeah.
You better say something important. So, but again, it's etched in stone definitely in my life as one of the highlights of my career, and just me being a man on this planet to be, associated with two titans in their own respective fields, man. So it was an extraordinary experience. I always give it up to Lyricist Lounge, to Danny and Ann and all of those guys for giving me that opportunity of being thrust into that position to work with such phenomenal artists.
That's what's up. You mentioned, I heard you mention Dr. Dre. And
yes,
I was
sir.
talking, I mentioned this to Rick earlier. I was talking to Rick because I've always heard about you being involved with either Dr. Dre or Aftermath. And I wasn't quite sure. And I just at some point I thought it was like maybe a rumor, or maybe, I wasn't sure if it was true. So please let me, along with me, and the rest of the hip hop Marvelites out there, know the truth behind that, if you will.
Yeah, well, definitely. Well, again, simultaneously to me moving to New York and performing at like the Lyricist Lounge and all of that, and linking with like, all my brothers and sisters in New York City, Brooklyn to be specific, Brownsville, never ran, never will. During that same time, Dame Dollars is out on the West Coast with my demo, and he does what he promised he would do. He gave a copy of the demo tape. At that time, it was an actual cassette tape. That's how far back it goes. He gave a copy of his cassette tape to Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre played it, said, yo, this kid is crazy. He's ill. I think on the demo was like songs like Black Magic, Animalistics, where I transform into different animals and things of that nature. Yes. And Dre Dre's a real, he does things big. So I think he saw that on a much larger scale, like, yo, I got to get this kid out here. So I just remember I go home one weekend, I come back to West Philly one weekend, I'm in my mom's crib or whatever, and the phone rings, and it was the landline. Again, this is back then. We had a landline. So my sister's calling me like, yo, somebody's on the phone with you playing game, but they're playing games. I said, what do you mean they're playing games? They said it's Dr. Dre. Like this guy on the phone is saying he's Dr. Dre. So I'm like, yeah. So I go pick up the phone. Yo, what's up? Yo, homie. Yo, this Dre. I'm like, really? He said, hell yeah. I said, yo, what's going on, man? He was like, yo, I heard your demo. I think it's real crazy. We need to start setting up trying to set up a meeting or whatever. So, long story short, his people called my people. The next thing I know, I was on a flight out to LA, you know, first time out there, warm weather, you know, fresh scenery, fresh greenery, if you know what I mean, all of that. So,
Right.
you know, we definitely chopped it up for a minute. And he was like, listen, man, you know, with what I went through with Death Row, I'm looking to do something totally different here at Aftermath. You know, the negative stuff is behind me. I'm looking for artists that are progressive, but still, you know, top tier MCs. I like anybody that's lyrical. And, you know, you are the direction, one of the people that are going in the direction that I want to go. What's up? So I was like, hell yeah, let's go. So I signed to Aftermath. I was signed to Aftermath for like a year and a half. In the late 90s. Yeah. So we're talking like now, again, I'm almost 50. So sometimes my memory, and I was blowing a lot of greenery back then. So my memory sometimes
Most of I understand.
Sometimes my memory is a little off in terms of timelines. But
right.
I want to say 97, I signed the deal with Aftermath or something like that. Stayed on there till like 98-ish, almost 99, something like that. You know, we banged out a little bit. We did some work, but it was like Dre was signing so many acts. I was signed KinCee. I remember my first day out there, I met KinCee. You know, respect to KinCee. I was always a huge KinCee fan.
Oh yeah,
ever since
definitely.
like Act a Fool, At Your Own Risk, all of those records. So when I got out there, I'm like, yo, I'm going to be on the same record label with KinCee. Nobody can tell me anything. I'm rocking with Dr. Dre. Nobody can tell me anything. So me, KinCee, Eve, who went on to be the first lady of Rough Riders. She was my label mate for a second. Me and her got to chop it up a little bit while I was out there.
Eve of
the Eve of Destruction. That's right. Eve of Destruction. Who else? Dawn Robinson from In Vogue was also on the label. And as the world as fate would have it, as the world went on to know, a gentleman by the name of Marshall Mathers out of Detroit, Michigan. You know what I'm saying? He was also on the label at the same time. In fact, a lot of people don't know. I toured with Eminem for like I want to say like a 10-12 city tour or something like that, and we were in a packed tight van and doing a lot of these dates. Him and Royce sat right in front of me and the homie Q. Facts. That's facts right there. So I've known him for quite some time. I've seen the struggle. I know how real the struggle is and the grind. I know how much work both of those gentlemen have put into this culture and this art form known as hip hop. So, you know, I can't do nothing but salute them, man, because, you know, the success that they have, it didn't just come in a vacuum. It didn't just come because, you know, the obvious, you know, because of Eminem's ethnicity and all that. Does it play a part and a factor? Obviously, yeah. Come on, this is America. But he did grind. Right. He did grind. He battled so many people. It would make your head spin. He got on stage night after night, as we all did, and he put in that work. So, you know, they deserve all of the attention and the accolades and the praise that they're getting.
That's what's up. Yeah, Hip Hop Marvel, like you hear it, you heard it from the man, you heard it from him, the source. You know, the Aftermath myth is true. You know, it is true.
Absolutely. So yeah, so I stayed on the label for about a year and a half. But again, Dre signed so many acts. I'll tell you, the night that it culminated in me realizing it was time for me to leave. So my road manager gives me a call. So I've been out there working at some capacity, but it wasn't like I felt I should be in terms of getting into the studio and locking in with Dre and doing song after song after song. That's what I wanted to do. That's what I felt like I got hired for. And I felt like after a while that wasn't happening. We did some stuff, but not at the level that I felt it should be. Okay. So my road manager calls me. He's like, yo, I found out the studio, Dre and them in the studio right now. We need to just go over there, pop up. What's up? So I actually coordinated with Eve and her people. So we were like, yo, we're going to all go there at the same time and just bum rush the studio. What's up? Let's go. So we go over there, we show up. Dre's in the studio with like, I guess some of the guys who were working on that, I guess it would be the Chronic 2000 album. Eventually it became that. Whatever album people like Hitman are on, because I know Hitman was in the studio that night. So
2001,
right, Chronic 2001. So we pop up in there. Now, mind you, this is just the early formation of that album. So this is like 2 years prior to that. So maybe even 3. It might even been 3. You know, Dre is not the fastest. He don't work fast. So, you know, he does everything right. And he's very, very meticulous when it comes to how the end product and how things are sonically. So it takes him a while before certain projects come out. So, you know, we show up at the studio, me and EVE, we show up and we just bust up in the studio like, yo, Dre, what's up, man? You in here recording? You in here with all these other dudes and whatever. You got us out here. You know, me and Eve really went on there on our Philly joint like, yo, what's up, man? You ain't just gonna play us like that, yo. So we was in full battle mode. So Dre is like, yo, you know, this is what did he say? This is not a marathon. This is a relay race. You know, it comes in stages and this, that. We ain't trying to hear none of that. He was like, oh, okay. He was like, okay, I'm going to throw a beat on. I'm going to give y'all like, you know, a certain amount of time to put your bars together, and whoever let the best man win. I'm not exaggerating when I tell you, me and Eve ran through whatever rappers were in. We just blacked out and ran through whoever was in that studio that night. You know, to the point where what we recorded was just so crazy. Even the other rappers, the engineer, everybody was like, "Oh my God, this is just great!" Like, oh, these Philly people, like, oh my goodness. So, you know, it was to show Dre, like, look, whatever's going on, and show everybody around him, like, whatever's going on out here is not as a result of lack of talent. Because we get busy. We came all the way out here from Philly, and we get busy. And we're not going to be, you know, shelved or hid in the corner or anything like that. If you're recording, whatever you're recording, we need to be on that. So, you know, Dre, I think he was a little upset at our approach, but he respected us enough to say, listen, I got so much going on here at Aftermath. I think maybe my vision is going somewhere else. I got to be real with y'all. Your projects may not come out in the time that we initially thought. If you stay here, you'll have a home here. We'll take care of you. But, you know, we got other things that are more pressing right now. So I respected that. I said, look, you know, I respect the opportunity to stay here and all that, but I got to, you know, manifest my own destiny. I'm out. You know, I'm out. I want to leave the label. And I think Eve expressed the same thing, but she had management that was a little more well dug into the industry. So they just they stayed under the Interscope umbrella, but instead of being on Aftermath, she went to Rough Riders. So that's what happened.
I remember I was watching the Rough Rider documentary they had on BT.
Right.
The Rough Riders Chronicles, and you know, you hit the nail dead on the head. And she said a similar story. It's why, you know, she left. And in fact,
that same night, I'm sorry to cut you off. I gotta sometimes things come back to me. That same night was the night that I was in the studio that night when Dr. Dre met Scott Storch, who went on to produce like Still Dre and all of that stuff. He's the piano playing guy. He's also from Philly.
Yeah.
So
I think you're right.
Right. So
he was actually a member of the Roots.
For a little bit, yeah.
Right, right. Yeah. Exactly. So, you know, Eve knew him a little bit better than I did, obviously. I didn't really know him, but I knew we were all from Philly and we were all out there. So that night, I know I've seen other interviews where Eve tells a story of her being there when Dre met Scott Storch and kind of helping facilitate that. But, you know, because I'm an underground artist, I just get overlooked. But I was also in that room that night as well. So, yeah, man, that's a little bit of the Aftermath history. And one thing I could say about Dr. Dre is he didn't, you know, sometimes when things like that happen, he could have been very rigid about it and kept me locked in a lot of paperwork that would have just had me in limbo for a lot of years and unable to record anywhere else. He was like, yo, if you want to leave, I wish you the best, man. You know what I mean? Salute, you know, good luck to you and all of that. And
that's real right
I
there.
always
That's
had
real.
to respect that. And he was a real nice guy. He was always a real nice guy. You hear a bunch of stuff, in the tabloids and this, that, and he's going through a lot, obviously, right now. But when I met him, he was always 100, kept it 100 with me, real laid back, real reserved type of brother, and definitely one of the major architects of the sound of hip hop as we know it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Have
In
you
the culture.
did you ever write anything for Dre?
If I did, I couldn't really say. I probably would not be able to say anything about it.
One thing I want to
Okay.
get into. One thing I want to get into is so we know you're a Marvel head, per se, because
for sure.
I know because when Secret Wars came out, most of the characters you named were Marvel characters, right?
For sure.
So,
for sure.
Hey,
for sure. What y'all know about that?
What is that?
That's what giant size, isn't it?
Issue 1.
Yeah, issue 1. Yep. Yeah. That's what's up. This dude right here stunting.
Okay.
But yeah, so no, go ahead, Rick.
No, I see him flexing the X-Men #1 right there. I see him doing that. It's all good.
Yeah, that's what we call a comic book flex right there. So
yeah.
Which Marvel character are you most like or you most relate to? I see you got Wolverine. I see you got Wolverine, Logan on your
I try to come prepared, man. I try to come in character. I try to come prepared, man. Wow, that's a very good question. Well, I always, as a collective, I was always more of an X-Men fan. Because once I was old enough to really understand the life of Stan Lee, who obviously created many of these characters and helped develop them, I realized that he pulled from a specific time in American history and developing some of these characters. For example,
definitely,
the X-Men were to mirror what was happening with the civil rights struggle of the 60s. Here we have mutants who are being discriminated against because they're different by the larger society of, I guess, normal humans, right? Now, in the 60s, we as original people here in the wilderness of North America were fighting for what was known as civil rights. Us being different in terms of the way we looked and our cultural nuances and things of that nature, fighting for equal rights under the government, much like the mutants are doing within the whole X-Men saga. We look at the two leaders of, the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. We have Magneto, then we have Professor X. One wants to say that, humans will never understand us, never accept us, never like us. So we might as well just be the most badass mutants we can be and slay them at every opportunity. We have the other leader in Professor X saying, you know what? We're at the end of the day, we're all people, we're all humans. Maybe they can be, if we show them that our powers and abilities will enable us to help society at large, they'll accept us a little more. So again, let's look at the civil rights struggle, and particularly, again, I come from out of the Nation of Islam. So Malcolm X, and Martin Luther King were the two almost like opposing sides of that argument. Dr. King said, if we just remain nonviolent and march and, peacefully protest, maybe larger society will accept us. While Malcolm X says, look, they ain't rocking with us, we ain't rocking with them. So we want freedom, justice, and equality by any means necessary. So knowing that Stan Lee, in a subtle way, pulled from the whole conflict between Malcolm and Martin, aka Magneto and Charles Xavier, he flipped it a little bit to so that, you know, who the good guy and bad guy is. He flipped it a little bit, but it's that polarity that always resonated with me, especially once I got older, because again, both of my parents were X-Men. My mom was Eleanor 4X. My dad was Willie 13X. So, you know, the X-Men always stood out to me, especially once I got older and knew the science behind why Stan Lee created these characters. But I gotta say, just overall, what pleases me about Marvel Comics, because again, obviously I'm into other stuff. I read, you know, DC, I read, you know what I'm saying, Dark Horse and all of that. But Marvel has had an you know, no pun intended, an uncanny ability of really pulling from
real life situations.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's why I resonate that. And you know, Rick and I, we told, you know, this story plenty of times of how we got pulled into, you know, the whole Marvel universe and Marvel Comics. And I'll say it 1,000 times. It's because there's so much realism. There's so much like you definitely can relate to a lot of the characters, how they grew up. This is why I think so many teens relate to like Spider-Man and how he grew up and you know, being this teen in school and trying to adapt with these, you know, to these new powers and being bullied, and these are real situations, you know. So
yes, sir.
I think these are some of the things that I use to escape my reality, you know, by going into the Marvel universe and Marvel Comics reality, which being, you know, in turn being faced with the same situations as I'm reading, but it's like, okay, I'm not alone, and I'm reading, you know, how certain characters deal with their problems, and in turn it helps me, you know.
That's right.
It kind of helps me and on, you know, how I can deal with certain problems. So yeah, I agree with you 100%. This is why I'm a, you know,
real
wholehearted Marvel fan.
Yes, sir.
Marvel.
So yeah,
Black are.
What was that? I think he's cutting out a little bit.
Yeah, I think his screen froze. Oh, there it is.
Yeah. But yeah, so, you know, definitely that's why I
say again, what was
like
your
Marvel
point again?
Has better.
I think he's cutting out.
Or African American characters are better than DC's.
Okay, yeah, for sure. I think they did. I mean, as far as like so-called ethnicity across the board, they've got a more of a handle on accentuating the differences or the nuances of people's different cultures and allowing that to shine through. I mean, obviously with the whole, like, you're right, with the whole thing with, you know, T'Challa and the nuances of African culture. Of course, it's a made up kingdom, but many of the nuances
are very real.
Are very real in terms of cultural expression. Yeah, definitely. You're right. You're right.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, it's one of the comic, you know, one of the big three that they, well, at least to me, they take pride in diversity, you know.
For sure.
You know, they take a lot of pride in diversity. Just today, you know, today is Comic Book Wednesday. You know, that's the day the new comic books drop. You know what I mean? And today they had an issue come out, Marvel Voices, #1, Indigenous Voices. And and it's basically
I gotta check that out.
Right. And it's basically just telling, you know, is a lot of the stories are written and illustrated by Indigenous people, and the stories are, you know, from this point of view of the, you know, Marvel's Indigenous characters.
Okay.
So that just dropped today. So that's like a prime example. Like, you know, like Rick said, you have a gang of you know, African American Marvel characters. One of my favorites being Blue Marvel, which if you get into
For sure.
if you get into his story is just like crazy. You know what I mean? So, but like you said, there's a lot of realism, within these stories. So, so you say the Marvel character that you're most like would be like an X-Men?
Yeah, probably. I'm trying to. I can't zero in on one particular. I mean, I was always a Colossus fan, of course, Wolverine. But as far as one in particular, but then I also like Nightcrawler. So I mean, I don't know if I could like hone. Oh, I gotta say Iceman. Probably, I would have to say Iceman. I just thought he had the cool. I thought he had the coolest, literally the coolest costume. The coolest ability. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, definitely. Probably had to say Iceman.
Iceman, dope. That's it. Okay, Iceman. Okay. So like, what are some of your favorite stories out of Marvel? Some of your favorite.
Obviously, Secret Wars. I mean, and I say that because I always liked the interaction and the cross-pollination of, I always loved it when Spider-Man, for some reason, comes in contact with the Fantastic Four, or, you know what I mean? Or the Hulk, for whatever reason, finally manages to have to knuckle up with the Thing or something like that. Like, I always like, almost like that, not guest stars, but just anytime there was cross-pollination. And to me, Secret Wars is the ultimate in team-ups. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's just, that's the whole premise of the whole story. Like, so definitely that, man. And I have to say that in conjunction with reading, of course, being a kid that grew up in the 70s and a little bit of the 80s, television and its incorporation of all things Marvel has also always captured my attention. So even going back to in the 60s, of course, obviously being born in the 70s, I caught reruns. But in the 60s, I think it might have been like Hanna-Barbera had like versions of the Fantastic Four. They had versions of Thor. There was even a Spider-Man cartoon. I actually have the box set. I don't know if you guys remember. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yes, the 67 collection. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, so I was also heavily into, I was always a TV head, and especially anything Marvel related, because I'm looking to see how accurately they got it, the artwork to the comic book and yada, yada, yada. So that 67 collection is something that's seminal in my life. Like, that's like, you know what I mean? Like, that is very, very important. I spend time just analyzing, watching it, looking how the music is synced up to the different action scenes and all of that. So television to me just helped propel Marvel to that next level. X-Men, the animated series, of course, I love that. Even a lot of the newer stuff that comes on, like Disney XT and all that stuff now. So, but yeah, anytime there's a chance meeting of like the Daredevil and Spider-Man, I'm all on that. You know what I mean? I'm all on that.
Yeah, for sure. Which it kind of stems over into hip hop too, which is, another reason why, another reason for the inception of hip hop Marvels is, this is why I'm a sucker for posse cuts. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
When you get a group of, definitely, you get a group of MCs or even, duos. When you pair them up, and they could be totally different. They come together for one common cause.
That's right.
So yeah, no, I definitely agree with you on that. So we already talked about you said, you know, some of your favorite stories or sagas in Marvel's Secret Wars. Let's talk about Secret Wars, since the episode is called Secret Wars.
Yes, sir.
So Secret Wars, one of my favorite joints of yours, due to the fact that it was, when I first heard it, it was so different. Different in the sense of, okay, I've heard many Marvel references in hip hop.
Right.
And you know, I mean, even stemming back to when Bob Camp did the artwork for Africa Bambaataa and
That's
Nucleus.
right. That's
and
right.
Nucleus.
That's
You know
right.
what I'm saying?
That's
Bob
right.
Camp was a Marvel artist. So
that's right.
Even stemming back to that, you know, all the way to, you know, Secret Wars, to where you take MCs, notable MCs, and put them up against Marvel characters. So when I first heard of the song, I was anxious to know, like, well, how is he going to do this? You know, and
Right.
you did it, and man, it blew me away. So, what was, you know, how did that come about? And hell, how was that session? Like, what was that like? Shit.
Yeah, well, Secret Wars first started out as like, when I would do shows, I was very conscious of the fact that, you know, back then your show had to be something special. And to set you apart from other MCs, you had to have like a certain amount of creativity. So it started out as something I would do between, like, halfway between my set, while my DJ or what have you would be, you know, getting queuing up the rest of the show material. It started off as a skit that I would do a cappella, and there were maybe only 5 or 6 matchups, but people enjoyed it so much that, you know, my team was like, look, man, you got to do something with that. We got to record that. Like, people love that little skit that you do.
Shout out to your team.
Show. Yeah.
For that, alley-oop.
Yeah, right, for sure. So, you know, it took me a while to write, and here's why. If you really listen, especially to part 1, I tried to be very meticulous in matching up comparable fights or verses, so to speak. So who better
I caught that fight, from the very beginning.
Right. Yeah. Who better to fight KRS-One, because he's a deep thinker, he's a teacher, he's you know, a very cerebral person. Who better to fight him than the person who works with Cerebro, being Professor X, you know, as the 2 team captains. So it took me a while to really like match up. I had to go read some comics. I had to go listen to some records. I had to, you know what I mean, just really, really dig into it to make it fun. And I think the underlying reason behind a record like that is just that simple: fun. I always strive to do things that are fun for hip hop. As much as I would like to say that it's all about, you know, the intelligence factor and teaching people and this, that, and the other, sometimes I want to be known as somebody who brought fun back to the art form. And to me, it's a fun record. I was the kid that grew up obviously collecting comic books. To this day, I still collect certain vintage toys like Transformers and G.I. Joe. I'm all about fun, creativity. So as a kid, I'd sit in my room and I'd take maybe Cobra Commander and one of the Crimson Guard, or Cobra Commander and Duke, and I'd act out them fighting each other. So that's kind of like the same thing, the principle that took place with Secret Wars. I just started acting it out like, okay, Professor X goes after KRS-One, and Dr. Octopus goes after Busta Rhymes, and Redman goes after the Incredible Hulk. And as I'm doing that, I'm acting it out as I'm writing it. So I just took it to that next level and even recorded it in that same fashion. Being a fan of hip hop and truly being a fan of all of the artists that I didn't put one artist in there that I was marginally a fan of. Like I really, really listened to all the records of all of those guys. So it became easier to do, and it motivated me to want to do it even more. But a fun record, it definitely fun to record. Definitely fun to record as well. I mean, we're all in the studio laughing, and you know, the first time I recorded it was in '95 at a home studio. My homie Big Tyke, who actually did the demo, we recorded it right in a home studio in Jersey, and we laughed. You know, we giggled, laughed, and oh, this is crazy, and you know, I'm laughing right along with them. So it was a fun record for us to make, and I'm just glad that after all these years, the listener, you know, I still get young people who hear it for the first time.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Through an older brother or aunt or an uncle or a parent or something, and they're like, "Yo, this is like really crazy," like, you know, and so that level of enjoyment lets me know that my mission was complete. I just wanted people to have fun with the record.
And some of the illest impressions on that thing too. So
yeah. And we got to remember, I came at a time that we were like, I caught the tail end of the whole East Coast, West Coast thing too, which also that kind of factors into when I went out to work with Dr. Dre. I have I got a lot of stories about me being out on the West Coast and all that as well. There was a lot going on. And remember, we saw the unfortunate, untimely demises of Christopher Wallace and Tupac Shakur, the Notorious B.I.G. and Tupac. And as a result of that, me priding myself and coming from a culture that we're taught to bring, when everything is going haywire, we are taught to bring civilization to the uncivilized. I saw hip hop going through a period where it was starting to really come off as uncivilized. So in my own way, this was an opportunity to show unity amongst the hip hop. I love West Coast artists like Ras Kass. So I put him on the record. You know what I mean? Of course, I love my East Coast brothers like, you know what I'm saying, Redman and Busta Rhymes. So I put them on the record. I love Boot Camp Click. So I put them on the record and had them fight G.I. Joe. So, you know, it was my way of saying, let's bring back the unity within the community and have a common foe. Like all of us fighting Marvel instead of all of us fighting each other.
Right. You definitely. Know? Here's one for you. So you mentioned a gang of MCs. Who would you fight? Who would you verse? Who would you go against?
Well, of course, because I created it, it would have to be me and the Beyonder, because he was behind the whole Secret Wars thing. Right. So I think I even say that toward the end. You know, you would have to get the Beyonder.
Okay, that's what's up. Yeah, definitely the Beyonder. Okay.
We were talking about, you know, that's a major team up. That's a team up. Let's talk about one of Dub and I's favorite record. We talk about you being in the studio with certain people and collaborating.
Yes, sir.
And Wordsworth off the beat.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Salute to Wordsworth, man.
Yeah, shout out Wordsworth. And shout out to him. Major shout out to him for the assist.
Definitely, you know, man. Let me tell you something, man. When we talk about the Lyricist Lounge days, right? That's when you saw the creme de la creme, the top tier upper echelon of not only known MCs, but those that were becoming known. In my life, I've been to 23 different countries. I've been all across the United States. I know people that, you know, their rhyming abilities are incredible that we've never heard of. There's probably 3 MCs on the planet that I think, or maybe 4, I'll just say 5, that are the top in terms of freestyling, like off the top of the dome, just rhyming. Wordsworth is definitely in that top 5.
Oh yeah, we definitely we know what you're talking about, and you know, I got the chance to see him do that live.
Yes, and he's almost definitely. Like he has a very, very special gift of, even because remember, even the Lyricist Lounge had a television show that aired for a brief period of time.
Definitely,
he was killing it on the show. just like in real life. Like, I mean, it's just like he comes from somewhere else with it. Like, it's so natural to him. You know what I mean? I was always in awe of that ability, as well as, you know, just him rhyming, period, and in the songs. You know, we've done other stuff, but definitely, I always, when I think about him, I think about how unique a talent that is, and that he's a mutant in his own right in terms of that talent.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think the joint, you know, the joint Rick was mentioning was It Ain't Enough. So that joint right there.
Yeah. Shout out to him and the
how
beat
you
miners,
guys,
man.
how you guys, y'all were bouncing back and forth off one another. You guys, you know, it's not like you guys could just email a verse. You guys had to be in there writing at the same time and playing off each other.
And again, I had to concede. I took his lead. He took the lead on that record. He was like, all right, this is my first line. Boom. Then he come back. Boom. And so I'm just trying to keep up with him because it comes so naturally to him. I'm just trying to keep up with him. He'll tell you we were in we recorded it in the Beat Miner studio. I think maybe we might have ultimately went to D&D. I'm not sure, but I know we went to Evil D and Mr. Walt's home studio.
Yeah, I think he did mention that when we interviewed him. He said you guys were in the kitchen or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
We were right in the kitchen. But I took his lead. I just took his lead. Like he ran the point on that. I just followed suit with what he was doing.
That's what's up. So before we get out of here, I do want to I'll be crazy not to mention this. And I remember when I brought it to Rick's attention, because as a fan of yours, I've been waiting, you know, to hear something new from you. I think the last thing I heard before this project I'm about to mention was Jungle Gym.
Yes, right? Sir.
You and Hock Fillmore. And
yes, sir.
So I was surprised. I want to say you released it late last year. Was it? I think it was late last year or mid last year.
18. I think it was 18. I think it came out 18, like 18. The end of 18. Yeah.
Into 18. Okay. End of 18. But yeah, Lord of the Fly, bruh.
Yes, sir.
That incredible.
Talk about an incredible body of work. Incredible.
I appreciate that. We greatly appreciate that. As somebody who's been doing it this long, and now I just do it for fun. I'm not trying to get paid. All it's about is having fun and hoping that brothers like yourselves enjoy it. So that makes me feel good. That makes me feel good.
Yeah, definitely. And so when I found out about it, I brought it to Rick's attention, and I think before we recorded one of our episodes, we let the whole thing go from top to bottom.
Right.
And we were just blown away. I was like, man, this guy,
dope.
Dope. So do you have anything else in the works? Well, I know you mentioned that earlier, but
yeah,
I guess my question is, do you have anything else in the works with Hock Fillmore?
Definitely. We're like maybe 70% into a new project. You know, I don't want to give away the title just yet, but if you like Jungle Gym and you like Lord of the Flies, this is the trilogy. Now you're going to get the third installment of what me and him are able to do. Just further pushing the envelope, having fun. And again, I just want to make fun records. Like you said, that you can just press play, listen to it in its entirety, and look at it as an entire body of work that you and the entire family can enjoy. So that's coming very soon. I'm going to keep in touch with you guys, because as soon as we launch it, I'm going to let people like yourselves know that it's on its way. Okay. And like I said, we're almost there. I actually have a running title. I think everybody's going to love it. If you like Lord of the Flies, you're going to like this.
Definitely. Definitely keep in touch. And we would love to have you back. Because I'm sure there's many more stories and many more conversations to be had, with the dialogue between hip hop and Marvel.
For sure.
So like I said before, I've been a fan ever since I first heard Music, Magic, and Myth. Even your mixtapes, Science Team Go,
Right.
Yeah. You know, so
Yeah,
I've been on,
we're in the works to get back with the science team too. We're going to do some scientific experiments with that as well. Definitely.
nice,
As soon as I finish up this next Hot Fillmore project.
nice.
Okay.
Definitely, man. Go
If
ahead,
I
Rick.
may, we talked a lot about your music.
Yes, sir.
You appeared in the 2006 documentary "Guilty Innocent of Using the N-Word."
Yes, sir.
What can you tell me about that project and your contribution to that? You know, it was a documentary that won a few independent film awards and documentary awards.
Yeah,
You and M1 and a couple of other people were featured in it. What was
that's
that
right.
How did that situation come about, and how do you feel about the project?
Well, a gentleman by the name of Markitect, who also works with a band called Fat Daddy Has Been. If you get a chance, check out their stuff. They're really dope. I did a song with them as well called Back Again. And just over the course of the years, I think he had interviewed me. He and his brother Grouchy Greg, who works with like another gentleman. They've got I forget the name of the company right now, but it was a project. It was a hot topic at the time. You know, people know that I have a certain background with, you know, matters of socio-political topics and stuff. So, you know, they just came to me and asked me to add my 2 cents. And I just added my 2 cents as someone who obviously grew up in the hood in an urban environment, who knows what it's like to have used the word, to, you know, have consciously gone through periods in life where I didn't want to use the word, and just what it means for us and to us as a people, again, here in the wilderness of North America. So, you know, at the time, I didn't know it was going to be such a big deal. They just asked me some questions, said they were putting something together, and that was that. But I think that was the intent. They just wanted my natural, organic feeling on the topic and the subject matter.
Right.
Not like, yo, we're going to actually put this out and it's going to be blah, 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 blah. Maybe, you know, I might have come a little more polished and said, well, I think that maybe we shouldn't use the word. They just want me to actually,
Right.
you know what I mean? Really give my honest opinion on it. So that's what I did. And then the next thing you know, it came out. So, you know, shout out to them. Definitely, man. Markitect, Grouchy Greg, all those dudes.
Right. Okay. So one more question before we get out of here.
Yes, sir.
Given, you know, hip hop works in different spurts as far as like generations are concerned. You have different MCs coming out different eras and time periods.
Right.
With that said, have you ever considered of doing a Secret Wars 3?
I have. I give it a lot of thought, and I'm just now starting to. I got to be honest with you. For a number of years, I just didn't see enough people that I really liked out here on the forefront that gave me enough material to compile to make a Secret Wars 3. I feel like I'm starting to get there with the Kendricks and the, you know what I mean, the J. Coles and people like that, and even some people that may surprise some that I might enjoy, that, you know, that maybe, you know, people wouldn't assume would be my cup of tea. But I respect lyricism. As long as you're not talking too crazy and
right,
you know, stuff that's, you know, but I respect lyricism. You know, just the other day I was listening to you know who I've been listening to a lot lately. This may sound kind of crazy. Bizarre from D12. He says the craziest stuff, but his delivery, he got rhymes, he got bars. And of course, sometimes the content is like a little crazy, like, whoa, did he really just say that? But that's just to give you an example of, you know, I'm all over the place. If you're lyrical, I respect that. As long as you're not talking about anything about hurting our people or, you know, damaging to our image and who we are as a people, then. But yeah, I'm starting to, you know, kind of get a little itch toward making a Secret Wars 3. So let's just willfully hope that more and more artists are coming out that can really rhyme and are pushing the envelope. Because I don't just want to do it just for the sake of doing it. I want it to be like, okay, this makes sense. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, no, most stuff that makes a lot of sense.
You want to make an impact, just like Secret Wars 1 and 2 did.
1 and 2,
exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's a very valid reason, and like you said, you don't want to just go rush things. You don't want to
Right.
you want to make sure everything's intact and you got enough material to execute. Definitely.
Exactly.
Uh,
Exactly.
Right.
yeah, man. So we appreciate you rocking with us. I know it's been lengthy, you know what I mean, but we
It's
wanted
all
to,
good, man.
one thing we do here, especially when we have guests, we want to give flowers, now, you know what I mean,
I
especially
appreciate that.
especially with what's going on and I mean how crazy the world is. We definitely want to give you your flowers and know that you
I
are
appreciate
respected
it.
here and appreciated here at Hip Hop Marvels. So like I said,
Hey, man,
The flower,
salute.
you know what I'm saying? The flower in the trees, why you can inhale them.
yeah, there you go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There you go.
Yes, sir. Salute. I
So
appreciate you,
Oh, but
gentlemen, for the platform that you putting on, and realize and understand that the role of the journalist and documenting what this art form is all about will remain here willfully hundreds, if not thousands of years from now. So your jobs are very important,
yeah,
very
definitely.
important and very significant. So I appreciate you for having me be a part of this platform.
We appreciate you and we salute you, man. Before we get out of here,
and
any
usually one of the things we
go ahead,
do
Rick.
is we have a hip hop did you know or a Marvel did you know, and we'd love for you to participate. And
Absolutely. Let's go.
in honor of you being on the show, I'm gonna throw this out there. This is a Marvel did you know, or in the form of a question. What
Okay.
Marvel superhero is a Philadelphia, Pennsylvania native?
Wow.
This is where the rest in
You
peace
got
Alex Trebek. Rest in peace
you
Alex
got me
Trebek.
on
This is
that.
where
You got
the
me on that. And
Jeopardy.
I should know this. You
This is
got
where
me
the
on
Jeopardy.
that.
Go ahead, Rick.
Yo,
Go ahead, Rick.
Dub, you want to take a shot?
You got me. I mean, Philadelphia. I know where a few of them are from, but Philadelphia. That's a. Is it well? Before you
Okay.
answer, is it a prominent hero or villain? Like, is it one that's notably that's known?
I have to say so. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, you're gonna have to give me that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's gonna
I
have to
don't
give me
even
that
know.
one then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, to answer the question, James Rhodey Road, aka the War
Oh,
Machine,
how did I not? That
Wow.
is
look,
a Philadelphia, Pennsylvania
you know what's
Pennsylvania
crazy?
native.
You know what's crazy?
Wow.
Hey, Imp, look, you know what's crazy? My AKA is War Machine. I call myself the War Machine, the last Don Cheadle. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
That's my AKA.
Okay.
Yeah.
One being
And
no, I was gonna say one being I'm ex-military.
bro, I was just gonna
Okay.
say that when War Machine was killed, he's actually buried in the fictional story. He's actually buried at a real church in Pennsylvania, which is the Mother
Wow.
Bethlehem Church.
Wow, Mother
Say it
Bethel.
again.
Yeah, I know
Oh,
exactly
Mother
I
Bethel.
know
Okay.
exactly where that is.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
That's what's up. That's
Yo,
a
that's
Marvel.
dope. Thank you.
That's
Thank
where
you for
War
that,
Machine's
man. Yeah.
that's where War Machine's funeral was held at in the comics.
Right.
Wow.
I should
Yo,
have
that's
known this.
dope. That's dope.
I feel ashamed myself. I should have known this because that's like
and you
my
call
that's another
yourself the War Machine.
right.
Yeah.
And that's that's another one of my favorite, Marvel characters. You know what I'm saying?
For
War
sure.
Machine, you know what I mean? Ex-military, and then I get from time to time that I have some resemblance of Don Cheadle. So
Cheadle, I can see that. I can see that.
So,
I can see that.
yeah. So that's where that I'm sure Cash is getting a kick out of this too. But yeah, but yeah, man, like I said, we appreciate you rocking with us, man. And before we
Thanks
get out
for
of here,
having me.
anything
Yes,
you wanna plug, any contacts or anything of that nature.
Yeah, people can just contact me on Twitter, The Last Emperor 13. That's The Last Emperor 13. Stay tuned for what we got in the works. Again, if you haven't already, go pick up Jungle Gym Season 1, pick up Lord of the Fly. Stay tuned for the next installment of The Last Emperor, Hot Fillmore. That should be coming out, I would say, early spring.
Nice.
And then, you know, perhaps he and I will start working on Jungle Gym Season 2. So I just want to say thank you both again for having me be a part of this format. And I want to say peace to man, woman, and child. Peace.
Peace. Peace. Thank you, man.